I still remember the sound of that door clicking open. It wasn't supposed to. I wasn't supposed to be there. But sometimes the most important moments in your life start with a mistake you can't take back. I was 28 when it happened, working 70-hour weeks at a consulting firm that didn't care if I had a life outside spreadsheets and client calls. I'd just moved into a new apartment complex in the city, one of those modern buildings with identical hallways and doors that all looked the same. I was exhausted that night. 3 hours of sleep the night before, back-to-back meetings all day. My mind was somewhere between a presentation deck and the takeout menu I'd been staring at on my phone. 4th floor, apartment 4C. That's what I thought. I slid my key into the lock. It turned. The door opened. I walked in. And that's when I saw her. She was standing in the middle of the living room, frozen. A woman I'd never seen before. Mid-20s, maybe. Dark hair pulled back, oversized sweater. Her eyes were red, like she'd been crying for hours. But what I noticed most was the way she looked at me. Not angry, not scared, just empty. Like she'd already given up on being surprised by anything. "I'm sorry," I said immediately, stepping back. "Wrong apartment. I thought this was—" "It's okay." Her voice was quiet, flat. I should have left, apologized again, and walked out. But something stopped me. The apartment was a mess. Not dirty, just chaotic. Papers scattered on the floor, a broken picture frame near the couch. Her phone face down on the kitchen counter. And her hands, they were shaking. "Are you okay?" I asked. Stupid question. She clearly wasn't. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she laughed. This small, bitter sound that didn't reach her eyes. "Yeah, I'm great," she said. I hesitated. "Do you need help?" She shook her head. "I don't even know anymore." And then she sat down on the couch, just dropped onto it like her legs couldn't hold her up anymore. I knew I should leave. This wasn't my business. I didn't know this woman. I'd walked into the wrong apartment, 4D, not 4C, and I should have apologized and disappeared. But I didn't. "I'm David," I said. She looked up at me. For the first time, there was something in her eyes besides emptiness. Confusion, maybe. Or curiosity. "Emma," she said quietly. I ended up staying. Not long, maybe 20 minutes. But long enough to learn that she'd just been fired from her job. Long enough to see her try to hold it together and fail. Long enough to realize that sometimes people don't need advice or solutions. They just need someone to sit with them in the silence. I didn't say much. I asked if she wanted water. She said yes. I found a glass, filled it, handed it to her. She took it, but didn't drink. I loved that job. Her voice was so quiet, I almost didn't hear her. I loved it. And they just let me go. Budget cuts, that's what they said. Like I was just a line item. I sat down in the chair across from her, kept my distance, gave her space. "I'm sorry," I said. She laughed again, that same hollow sound. Everyone's sorry, but no one can actually do anything about it. I nodded. She was right. We sat in silence for a while. I could hear the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of traffic outside, the rhythm of her breathing. "Thank you," she said suddenly. I looked at her. For what? For not leaving. And something in the way she said it, something fragile and honest, made my chest tighten. I left a few minutes later, apologized again for the intrusion. She smiled, barely, and said it was okay. I went to my actual apartment, 4C, right next door. I thought about her all night. I didn't see Emma for 3 days. I thought about knocking on her door, checking if she was okay, but that felt invasive. We were strangers. I'd walked into her life by accident. I had no right to walk back in on purpose. But then I saw her in the hallway. She was carrying groceries, 2 bags in each hand, struggling with her keys. "Need help?" I asked. She looked up, recognized me, and for the first time, I saw her actually smile. "That would be great," she said. I took 2 of the bags, waited while she unlocked her door. She let me in, this time intentionally. The apartment looked different, cleaner. The papers were gone, the broken frame was in the trash. She'd put herself back together, at least on the surface. "You doing okay?" I asked as I set the bags on her counter. She nodded. "Better. Got a couple interviews lined up. Trying to stay positive." "That's good." She started unpacking groceries. I should have left, but I found myself lingering. "Can I ask you something?" she said, not looking at me. "Sure." "Why did you stay that night?" I thought about it. "I don't know. You looked like you needed someone." She stopped unpacking, turned to face me. Most people would have just left. I almost did, but she didn't. We looked at each other, and I realized something had shifted. We weren't strangers anymore. We were 2 people who'd shared something real, even if it was just 20 minutes of honest silence. "Do you want coffee?" she asked suddenly.
She
I
learned
smiled.
that I was a consultant who
I'd like
hated
that.
consulting, that I'd wanted to be a writer in college but convinced myself it wasn't practical, that I couldn't cook to save my life but made excellent scrambled eggs. We were careful with each other, polite, respectful of boundaries. But I started noticing things. The way she tucked her hair behind her ear when she was nervous, the way her laugh was different when it was real versus when she was being polite, the way she'd pause before answering certain questions like she was deciding how much to let me in. And I realized I was doing the same thing, measuring my words, watching for her reactions, trying to figure out what this was without asking directly. It was a Friday night when things changed. I'd had a brutal week. Client presentation went sideways, my boss blamed me. I came home feeling like I'd been run over by a truck. Emma texted me. "Coffee?" I almost said no. I wasn't good company, but something made me say yes. When I got to her apartment, she took one look at me and said, "Rough day?" "Rough week." She didn't ask for details, just handed me a beer instead of coffee and sat down next to me on the couch. We didn't talk. We just sat there, drinking beer, watching the city lights through her window. And then she said, "You know what I realized?" "What?" "You saved me that night." I looked at her. "I didn't do anything." "You stayed," she said. "When I was at my lowest point, when I felt completely alone, you stayed. You didn't try to fix me. You didn't tell me it would all be okay. You just sat with me. And that mattered." Her eyes were shining, not crying, just intense. "I think about that night a lot," I said quietly. "Walking into the wrong apartment, meeting you, it felt like what? Like maybe it wasn't a mistake." The air between us shifted, became heavier, charged. She was sitting so close I could smell her shampoo. Something floral, simple. "David," she said softly. "Yeah?" "I'm scared." "Of what?" "This," she gestured between us. "Whatever this is." I understood. I was scared too. "We don't have to figure it out tonight," I said. She nodded, leaned her head on my shoulder, and we sat like that for a long time. But we did have to figure it out eventually, because what started as coffee became dinners. Dinners became late-night conversations. Late-night conversations became staying up until 3 in the morning talking about everything and nothing. And somewhere in all of that, I fell for her. Not the dramatic movie moment kind of falling, the quiet kind. The kind where you realize that your days feel better when she's in them, where you start measuring time by the next time you'll see her, where you catch yourself smiling at random moments because something reminded you of her. But I didn't say anything, because Emma had walls. I could see them, feel them. She'd let me close, but only so close. There was something she wasn't telling me, something that made her pull back whenever we got too real. It was almost 2 months after that first night when I found out what it was. We were at her place, making dinner together. She was chopping vegetables. I was attempting to cook pasta without burning it. And then her phone rang. She looked at the screen. Her whole body tensed. "I need to take this," she said, her voice suddenly cold. She walked into her bedroom, closed the door. I could hear her voice through the walls, not the words, just the tone. Angry, defensive, exhausted. When she came out 10 minutes later, her eyes were red again, just like that first night. "You okay?" I asked. "My ex," she said flatly. "He won't stop calling." "I know," she said, cutting me off. "I know I should block him. I know I should just let it go. But it's not that simple." "Why not?" She looked at me, really looked at me, and I saw something in her eyes I'd never seen before. Fear. "Because he knows where I live," she said quietly. "Because he shows up sometimes. Because every time I think I'm free of him, he finds a way back in. And I'm tired, David. I'm so tired of being afraid." And suddenly everything made sense. The way she always locked her door immediately, the way she'd tense up when footsteps passed in the hallway, the way she kept the curtains drawn even during the day. She wasn't just cautious, she was hiding. "Has he hurt you?" I asked, my voice barely controlled. "Not physically, but he knows how to make me feel small, worthless, like I'll never be okay without him." I moved closer, not touching her, just close enough that she knew I was there. "You are okay without him," I said. "You're more than okay." She shook her head. "You don't understand." "Then help me understand." She looked at me for a long moment, and then finally she told me. About the relationship that started sweet and turned controlling, about the way he isolated her from friends, about the constant criticism disguised as concern, about the night she finally left and he told her she'd regret it, about how she moved to this apartment to get away, how she changed her number, how she thought she was safe, until he found her again. "I'm sorry," she said when she finished. "This is too much. You don't need to deal with this." "Emma," I said, "look at me." She did. "You don't have to." "I know I don't have to. I want to. You're not alone in this anymore." And then she started crying, really crying, the kind of crying that comes from holding everything in for too long. I pulled her into my arms. She collapsed against me, and I held her while she broke apart and put herself back together. Things got worse before they got better. Her ex started showing up more often, standing outside the building, calling from different numbers, sending messages through mutual friends. Emma got a restraining order. It helped, but the fear didn't go away. I started staying at her place more often, partly to make sure she felt safe, partly because I couldn't stand the thought of her being alone. And somewhere in the middle of all that darkness, something beautiful happened. We stopped pretending this was just friendship. It was a Tuesday night. We were watching a movie neither of us was really paying attention to. Emma was curled up against me on the couch, her head on my chest, my hand in her hair. "David," she said quietly. "Yeah? I think I'm falling for you." My heart stopped, started again, beat differently. "I think I already fell," I said. She lifted her head, looked at me, and I saw everything I felt reflected in her eyes. She kissed me. Soft, tentative, like she was asking a question. I kissed her back like I was answering it. And everything else, all the fear, all the uncertainty, all the complications faded into the background. Because this was real. The restraining order worked, eventually. Emma's ex stopped showing up, stopped calling, moved on or gave up, or found someone else to torment. Emma started sleeping better, smiling more, opening up in ways she hadn't before. And we fell into something that felt less like falling and more like choosing. Every day, choosing each other. It's been a year now since I walked into the wrong apartment. A year since I met a woman who needed help. A year since everything changed. Emma and I don't live in separate apartments anymore. We moved in together 3 months ago. Her place, well, our place now. Sometimes I think about that night, how close I came to just apologizing and leaving, how easy it would have been to walk away. But I didn't. I stayed, and she let me. We're not perfect. We still have hard days. Emma still gets anxious sometimes. I still work too much. But we're real, and we're here, and that's enough. Sometimes the best things in life start with a mistake. Sometimes walking into the wrong door leads you exactly where you're supposed to be. Sometimes the person who needs help is also the person who saves you. And sometimes, love doesn't look like the movies. Sometimes it looks like 20 minutes of silence with a stranger. Sometimes it looks like staying when it would be easier to leave. Sometimes it looks like choosing someone every single day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. I walked into the wrong apartment and met a woman who needed help. But the truth is, we helped each other, and I wouldn't change a single thing. If you liked this video, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Thanks.